Hi, I'm JC from Baldwin Motors, and today I'm going to be giving you a complete walk around on your brand new 2024 Outback. Now for today's video, I'm going to be using a brand new 24 Outback Touring XT. This is the highest trim level of the Outback, so it should have all the features that you're going to be having questions about. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First things first, let's go over our key fob settings. Now on your key fob, you'll have 4 different buttons. From top to bottom, you have your locking button, your Subaru logo, which unlocks your vehicle. 1 click will do the driver's door, 2 clicks will do all doors. Then you have your trunk opening function. And then last but not least, we have our car alarm. If we walk up to either our driver or passenger side door, we'll see we have these 3 lines located on the left-hand side. That is going to be to indicate that our vehicle has keyless entry. Now to enter your vehicle while it is locked, simply put your hand on the inside of the handle. It'll open for you and you can go ahead and step right in. Now if we wanted to lock our vehicle, we don't have to put our hand on the inside. We can simply tap those 3 lines. The vehicle will lock right away for us and you're all good to go. Now for this next exterior feature, we're going to be popping our hood and taking a look inside. In order to do that, you can go ahead to the left side of your driver's steering wheel. Below the first instrument cluster, you'll see the symbol here with a car and the hood. You can go ahead and stick your fingers in there, and there is a little lever just behind it. Pull that open and you'll feel the trunk pop. Now once your hood is popped, you'll notice that it is raised in the front. You want to go ahead and walk directly in front the Subaru logo as we see right here, and then you're going to go ahead and stick your hand inside and you'll feel a lever. You can go ahead and push that lever to the left, lift the car hood up, and it'll be just as easy as that to open. I'm going to take a second to turn my camera off to angle it, and then we're going to go ahead and look inside of our hood. Now to keep your Subaru propped open, you'll see that there's 2 arrows. The first arrow indicates where the rod is at, and then the second arrow indicates where you need to insert the rod to hold the hood open, and it's going to be right here. You'll notice it. It's in the black plastic. There's an arrow. You just go ahead and stick this guy in here, and then your hood is ready to be looked at. For the most part, you won't be digging around in here. You'll be going to our Subaru service center and getting help, but for some simple things, if you need to insert wiper fluid or jump your vehicle, you can find both of those things located on the right-hand side. Here's where you're going to insert your wiper fluid. Here's where you can jump start the vehicle. You have your positive underneath the red plastic, your ground over there on the right-hand side. Also, if you ever need any coolant or oil, both things are located right here, and your oil filter is right there up on top. Super easy to get to, super easy to find. Now for the last feature we can mess with while outside of the car, that is going to be our gas pump, and you can go ahead and just push that in as long as you have the key with you and the vehicle is unlocked, and you'll have access to your gas. Now when you do lock the vehicle, it does lock the gas pump with it. Now that we are all done with the exterior features, let's go ahead and take a look inside of our Subaru Outback. So first thing we're going to be going over is your instrument cluster. Now you'll notice every single window has the auto word written on top of it. That is because they can be automatic. If you wanted to open or close it, you can just do it by either depressing the button all the way down and it'll open the window automatically for you, or raising the button all the way up and it'll raise it all the way for you. Now let's say we don't want to keep it all the way closed or open or just crack it. If you don't push it all the way down and simply nudge it a little bit, it'll stop exactly where you leave the window. Now above the door locks, we have our window controls. Now our window controls are fairly simple. That top button right here is going to be if you want to fold your mirrors in. So we're going to go ahead and press that. And we see that mirrors fold in. If you want your mirrors to fold out, go ahead and press that again, and that is going to fold them out for you. Your car does automatically fold them in when you lock the vehicle. This is just in case you wanted to do it while you were in an automatic car wash to protect your side mirrors. Now below that, we see we have the option to adjust our side mirrors with this little knob. Now you can turn this knob left or right. I'm going to go ahead and turn it left, and now it's set to adjust this side mirror on the left-hand driver's side. If I wanted to adjust it, I can move this joystick up, down, left, or right, and that'll actually move my mirror up, down, left, or right, exactly how I want it to be. Last function on our instrument cluster is going to be your window locks. Now this is going to be the feature where if your children are in the back, they keep rolling the window down, or if your friends are annoying you by hollering out the back seat, you can go ahead and press this button and everyone loses access to window controls. Next up, we have our seat controls. Now you'll notice there are 3 buttons located on the left side of the driver's seat or right side of the passenger seat. This is going to be how you can control and adjust your seat. So we see down here, the first one is going to be a horizontal bar. This is going to be how you can push your seat forwards or backwards or raise the front half of your seat, as we see right here. Or if you push the back of the horizontal bar, you can raise the entirety of your seat, as we see right here. It works in reverse as well, so if I wanted to lower it, I just lower that back half. And if I wanted to lower the front half of my seat, I would just push down on the front half of the horizontal bar. Next, we have our vertical bar, which is going to be just our seat tilt. So if I wanted my seat to tilt more, I would tilt the bar closer to the steering wheel. And if I wanted my seat to tilt back more, I would simply tilt the switch towards the back of the trunk. Last but not least, we have our lumbar support. This is going to give you the option to raise or lower your lumbar support and then have it protrude out more or protrude in more. And you can notice it slightly as I move it. It's not the biggest difference in the world visually, but you will feel it. Now, last but not least, a lot of Outback owners don't really know about this, but you have the option to extend this portion of your seat right here. There's actually a little lever right there that you can go ahead and just push up on, and it'll allow you to extend it out so you have a much more comfortable seat. Now, let's say you are completely done customizing your seat preferences and want to save it. You can go ahead and use these 3 buttons right here to save your seat options. You have 2 different settings you can save, and this is going to be the button you use to set it. And the order you're going to do it in is you can go ahead and get inside the vehicle, adjust your seat how you would like it to be, and then once your seat is in the position that you enjoy it in, press set, and then 1, and now it has saved my seat positioning to seat 1. Second option. Now, I've completely set the seat how I like it. I've adjusted it to a position that I don't like it in. So all I have to do now is press 1 now that it's been set, and the seat is going to automatically move into the position that I want it to be in. Next feature we're going to be going over is going to be our instrument cluster located just at the left-hand side of your steering wheel. Now, this instrument cluster has 3 buttons on it. The first one is going to be how you can open and close your power liftgate from inside the vehicle. The second one is going to be how you can adjust the brightness of your interior lighting. That is going to be less. This is going to be most, which is going to be the 2 dots lined up. And this is if for some reason when you're driving and your interior screens are a little too bright, you can just go ahead and lower them until you're comfortable. Last but not least, this is going to turn off your automatic hands-free power liftgate. Now, this is a very important button if you're going through a car wash or if you're hooking up a trailer and your automatic liftgate keeps accidentally opening because of the hands-free feature. You can press that button right there and that'll turn off the hands-free power liftgate. Under that, we have our fuse box. You can just pull that guy out and you'll see all your fuses right there. Next feature we're going to touch on is going to be our lights. Now, you'll see here on the left-hand side of your steering wheel, you have your light stick. This is going to be how you can control most of the lights that are on the exterior of your vehicle. Now, the first thing I'm going to teach you is how to use your turn signal. Hopefully, you already know this, but if you wanted to signal left, just push it down, and if you wanted to signal right, you'll push it up. Now, back in resting position, we can go ahead and adjust our headlights. We'll see right now our lights are set to off. There is a slight circle to signify off, and then a white dash to signify what setting you're in. Now, if I wanted to switch it to auto, I'll just twist that up once. The dash is aligned with the auto, and now our vehicle is in auto setting. With auto setting, your vehicle will turn its lights on in 2 different scenarios. The first scenario is if it doesn't detect enough light outside, and then the second scenario is if it detects that your wipers have been running for a minute, it'll automatically turn your lights on for the rain. Next, these are going to be your daytime running lights. You can actually just leave those on. They're not going to be very bright, but you can see them here in the reflection of our mirror. Let me go ahead and pan up for you. I'm going to turn them off real quick, and then I'm going to turn them back on, and that is our daytime running lights. Last but not least, we have our usual headlight button. Excuse the zoom and the switching. That's going to be the guy up top, and we can go ahead and just set him there, and our headlights are going to turn on. Next, you'll notice straight to the right of the lights is going to be your fog light setting. Now, it is in off right now, and a fun little tidbit is that your fog lights won't come on unless you have your headlights on either auto or the low beams. So we're going to go ahead and switch our low beams on, and then I'm going to switch this up once, and now our fog lights are on, and I'll go ahead and show you that in the reflection right now. So we'll see here, I have my low beams on with my fog lights on, and if I wanted to turn my fog lights off, I'll just rotate it down, and those are your fog lights there at the bottom. And then the symbols on the rest of it you can actually ignore. This is just to signify that if you were to push it up or right, you would do your turn signals. And then last but not least, if you were to push it forward, you turn your high beams on. Now, switching sides to the other side of our steering wheel, we see here that we have our wiper setting. Now, the wipers are going to work on a different system than how the lights work. With the lights, you were rotating this knob, but with the wipers, you're actually paying attention to this little graph right here, and it's telling you where the positioning of the stick is and how that correlates with how the wipers go. So right now, that is going to be the triangle symbol, which just signifies one wipe. Currently, it is resting in the off setting. If I were to go down one, now we're in the intermediate setting, and I can adjust my speed using this lever right here. And if I go up, it's going to go up more. If I go down, it's going to go down more. Next, we have our low speed wipers, which is this function right here. And then we have our high speed wipers, which is going to be this function down below at the bottom. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to our rear wipers. Now, our rear wipers are not going to operate using the entire stick like our front wipers. Instead, they're actually going to operate using this little knob right here. Now, there's 3 different settings on your rear wipers, and then 2 at the bottom and top that do the same thing. The first setting is going to be your off setting, like normal. If that dash is lined up with the 0, it's going to be off. Then we have your intermediate setting. Now, intermediate does not work like the front windshields where you can rotate this and select the speed. The intermediate setting on the rear windshield wiper correlates to the speed that you are driving. So the faster you're driving, the faster it'll wipe. Then you have a consistent setting, which is just going to be the normal speed. And if you were to go all the way up or all the way down, it'll simply clean your rear windshield. Now, a cool little Easter egg with the Outbacks is if I put my vehicle in reverse, I can actually watch my rear view camera. And if I clean my rear wiper again, so I go ahead and activate that, it's actually going to clean my back rear view camera for me. Now, on our left-hand side of the steering wheel, we'll see that we have our media instrument cluster. Now, this instrument cluster is what we're going to be using a lot of the times while driving to adjust our radio settings. Starting from the top, we see that we have our source button. This is going to be how you can switch between where your audio is coming from. This can be either AM, FM, Bluetooth, MP3, or Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Next, we have our seek and skip buttons, which is going to be how you can either seek between songs if you're using Bluetooth, MP3, you can switch between tracks, or if you're using the radio, it'll switch between your preset stations. Now, if you were to hold down the seek or skip button, if you're using MP3, Bluetooth, or Apple CarPlay, it'll actually fast forward through your song. And if you're using radio, it'll simply start searching between stations. Now, just underneath our seek and skip button are going to be our I button and our switches. Now, our switches are going to correspond directly to our central display located here behind our steering wheel, and they're going to be how we can scroll through the information that is displayed. Now, directly next to it, though, is that I button. Now, the reason you have this I function is that if any information is displayed on the central display, it will show an I symbol. Now, this is going to be if you need an oil change, if it's getting close to service time, or if you have low tire pressure. It'll appear for a couple seconds and then go away while you're driving. If you want to reread that message or see what information the Subaru is trying to tell you, that's when you can go ahead and press this I button. Other than that, like right now in this brand new Subaru with no information being displayed, if I were to press that I button, nothing happens. Underneath that, we see that we have our answering and hanging up button, as well as the mute button. And this is going to work where if you're receiving a phone call, you can pick it up using this, or you can decline it using the hanging up button. And then if you are listening to music, you can actually press the decline button to mute your audio. To the right of that, we have our voice recognition feature, and this is going to be one of your favorite features once you get used to it. You can have 2 different types of ways of using this voice recognition. The first way is going to be with Subaru. So if I were to press it now, it'll activate the Subaru.
Please say a command.
The Subaru voice recognition feature. I'm going to go ahead and close that out.
Canceling.
And the reason you would want to use the Subaru voice command feature is it allows you to do things such as use navigation from the default Subaru navigation, adjust your volume, adjust your temperature, things like that. Now, if you have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto set up, when you hold down this voice recognition feature, it won't activate the Subaru voice recognition, but instead will activate your Siri or Android Assistant. Just below that, we have our volume controls. Minus is going to be decreasing your volume, and plus is going to be increasing your volume. On the right-hand side of our steering wheel, we're going to see that we have our cruise control features. Now, starting from the top to the bottom, this button right here with the car and the meter is going to be how you can actually set the cruise control to on. So if I press that, that's turning it on, and if I press it again, that's turning it off. Now, when I turn my adaptive cruise control on, you'll see it display here in the center meter display, and that is going to show you the vehicle with a couple of lines in front of it. Now those lines are going to be the distance that the vehicle stays away from the car in front of you, and if you wanted to increase or decrease that length, you can go ahead and use these two buttons right here. The top one increases the distance, the bottom one decreases the distance. Just below that, we have our resume and set button. This is going to be how you can set the speed you want to go to. So if I'm driving at 25 miles per hour, I'd go ahead, turn on my adaptive cruise control, and then flick this guy down to set it to keep going at 25 miles per hour. If I wanted to increase it and go to 28, I have a couple of different options. I can either hit this guy 3 times and it'll bring my speed up to 28, or if I were to hold this, it actually increases it by 5 mile per hour increments and it'll bring me up to 30 miles per hour. Last but not least, we have our lane centering feature. Now, one important thing to note about lane centering is that it will not be on if adaptive cruise control is not on. So if you want to use your lane centering feature, you do have to turn your adaptive cruise control on. Once you've engaged adaptive cruise control, you can go ahead and hit your lane centering feature, and your vehicle will be kept inside the lanes you were traveling. Last but not least, just below these guys, you'll notice we have a switch, and this is going to be our heated steering wheel switch located at the bottom right corner of our steering wheel. To turn that guy on, all you have to do is pull it towards you and it'll turn on. You can see the LED light right there, and if we wanted to turn it off, just do the same thing again. Now next up, we're going to go ahead and bring our attention up and take a look at our overhead console. Now this guy has a couple of different features that we do need to go over to make sure you're as safe as you can possibly be. The first feature is going to be your S.O.S button. This is going to be for emergency services, ambulance, fire department, police department, and what happens is you would press this button, it'll connect the call to Subaru Starlink, a customer service representative. You do need the Starlink subscription for these two features to work, and then they will get in contact with the emergency services, send them your location, things like that. Over here on the right hand side is going to be your information or roadside assistance button. This is the button you would press if you had a flat tire, out of gas, or things like that and needed to jump. You would press this, it'll contact you with a Starlink customer service representative. Again, you do need the Starlink subscription, and they'll go ahead and send someone out to you. The service is available 24/7, so that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, let's say you were to accidentally press one of these two buttons. If you wanted to cancel that call, you have the option of either holding that button down again for 2 seconds, and that'll cancel the call, or if it's a little too late and the call is going through, you should be able to look at your screen and an option should pop up to simply cancel the call. Now going back up top, we see we have a couple more buttons. The first one is going to be our moonroof controls. Now this is just going to be to open and close our moonroof. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this feature, but if you wanted to open your moonroof, you can simply touch it once and it'll open it. If we were to hold it all the way open, it'll just give us that nice opening. And if I wanted to close my moonroof, I would just push it all the way forward. And just like that, it closes the moonroof. Now there's another feature that is hidden in here, and it's going to be that center circle. If I were to just press that guy in, not tilt it forward or backwards, we actually get this lovely little crack in our moonroof. So we get a nice little airflow as we're driving. I'm going to go ahead and press that button down, and that'll actually close that crack that it opened. Now over here we have our lighting controls. This is going to be how you can make it so that your lights turn on automatically when you open your door. Right now it's set to off, so they don't do that. If I push it to door, now anytime I lock or unlock, open my doors, the lights will come on. Last but not least, we have our sunglasses holder up top. Just underneath our lights and sunglasses holder, we have our rear view mirror. Now, there are 3 different iterations of the rear view mirror that you can possibly have with Subaru, but this one should cover all of them. It has the same auto dimming feature, as well as the home link garage and gate opener settings, plus a couple other features. To start off, this specific mirror is the Clearview mirror. If you needed to see behind you, but for some reason you had an obstacle in the way, let's say you had boxes piled in the back, you can go ahead and flip the middle switch and it'll engage the camera in the back. Now you also have a couple of settings located on the right hand side. The first one is going to be to have your auto dimming feature on or off. So if I were to press that square again, it's my auto dim feature. I could turn it off if I wanted to, or I could keep it on. After that, I could go to the next one and set up my home link garage door system. This is if you have a garage door or a gate opener. You can go ahead and click it, the square button, until you get the house symbol. Press setup and it'll actually walk you all the way through it, and you can continue using this button or press exit using the button under exit. After that, you have your
After that, you have your compass feature. This is going to be how you can keep that compass on the right-hand corner on or off. And if it seems like it's a little bit wonky and not pointing in the right direction, you can go ahead and calibrate it as well. Now, the last thing you're going to have to do on here is change your language. That is, if you would like a different language, you can go ahead and scroll through the options. Now on the left-hand side of our mirror, we have our home link garage door or gate door opener buttons. These are going to be what you use to pair your clickers to your vehicle, so you no longer need your clicker. If you wanted to pair them, the home link rear view, Clearview mirror will actually walk you through it as I showed you earlier. But if you don't have that, it is pretty simple. All you have to do is hold down the button you want to pair and simultaneously hold down your clicker. It'll beep. If you have one of the lower models of the rear view mirror, an LED light should appear here, and on the Clearview mirror it'll just let you know that it is paired. Now let's go ahead and go over our touchscreen display. In this specific model, we have the 11.6-inch Starlink display. I believe every trim level but the base will have this exact same display, and if you have the base, you'll have the dual 7-inch displays that are stacked up on top of each other. Now here, starting at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and go over our climate setting. Starting off at the bottom left, we see that we have our on and off feature for our temperature controls. Now that is going to be how we can just turn it on or off. We lose complete ventilation and temperature controls when we do that. And then we see that on the opposite side, we have our AC button. Now if we were to turn our AC off, we can still maintain fan speed. However, the vehicle is no longer changing the temperature of the air that is coming inside the cabin. Next, on top of those buttons, we see we have our ventilated and heated seat buttons. These are pretty self-explanatory. You click them and it'll activate the highest level of that feature, and then click them more to decrease it until it eventually turns off. It works the same way for heated and cooled. Next up, we see that on the outside of our touchscreen display, we have a couple of physical buttons. These are going to be if we wanted to go ahead and change our temperature. So if we wanted to increase our temperature, we would press the red button. If we wanted to decrease our temperature, we would press the blue button. It is the same for both sides, and most of the vehicles will have the dual climate controls, except for the base model. Now you'll see above our temperature controls, we have the vent options. The one on the left-hand side is going to be for your windshield to defrost it or defog it, and then the one on the right side is going to defog your rear view windshield. If you have de-icers as well as the outside defogging option, those will engage when you engage those defrosting features as well. Next up, we have our climate control panel, which is here in the center. You can see you have your temperature and vent selection. Just go ahead and press that and you'll get your climate control panel. Now in our climate control panel, we have another way of changing your temperature. You can go ahead and click up here. I'll adjust the camera up real quickly, and you can use the slider to adjust your temperature how you want. On the top left corner, we have our auto feature. Now the auto feature is going to make it so that if I set my temperature to, let's say, 65 degrees and hit auto, then auto will automatically adjust what vents my air is coming from as well as my fan speed for me. I'm not going to do it now because I'm actually kind of comfortable at the temperature that I'm at. Next, we have our air recirculation button. This is going to make it so that airflow is being recirculated into the vehicle. If the green light is not on, that means we're taking in outside air. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And you'd want to use this feature if it is smelly outside while you're driving, if you're trying to cool down your vehicle quicker, or if it's a very dusty road that you're driving on. Next feature we have is going to be our AC button, which is going to be a duplicate of the one that we have down at the bottom right corner. And then we have our max AC button, which is going to make it as cold as possible, as quickly as possible. It basically brings it to the maximum low temperature and the maximum fan speed and cools the vehicle down as quickly as it can. Last but not least, we see that at the bottom we have our vent selection. We can switch between having just our face, and some power to our feet, equal amount of power to face and feet, just feet, and then feet and front windshield defroster. One last button I did forget to go over is going to be in the middle. That is our sync button. That makes it so that if I click this, whatever I set my temperature to, my passenger's temperature will correlate to it as well. If you want to turn that feature off, you can either press that button again, or if the passenger were to adjust their temperature while sync is active, it'll go ahead and boot it out. So up top we have our information toolbar. This is the next thing we're going to be covering, and we see that it'll show us a selection of information about our vehicle, including media and vehicle settings. First thing that's going to show up is going to be our Bluetooth connection by default. We don't have a Bluetooth device connected, so it shows no device connected, but if I were to be playing music or if I were on a phone call, that information would be displayed at the top of my screen. After that, we have our navigation settings. I currently don't have a route set, and I am in a very large parking lot at Baldwin Subaru's dealership, so it's not going to show me any roads at the moment, but if we had a route set, it would give me navigation directions, and if we were simply just driving on a road, it'll let me know where I was at. We have our vehicle settings. It's going to show us our acceleration percentage, how much we're pressing on the accelerator, our fuel consumption, and then the angle our vehicle is at if we were to be doing any kind of odd driving or going down uphill, anything like that. After our fuel settings, we're going to go ahead and see our weather. This is going to give us the forecast for the area you're currently located in. Today we have a high of 74 and a low of 61. After that, we see that we have our X mode setting, and this is going to be the quickest way to toggle X mode on or off, and I'll go into what X mode is a little bit later. Another tidbit about your information bar on the top of your screen is once you are at the vehicle information screen, you can actually tap on that if you want to replace it with any of these other vehicle widgets down below. Next feature we're going to be going over is going to be our navigation. You'll find this at the top left corner of your screen. It'll be map, and here we get our navigation map. Now there's a couple different settings. One that is going to make it a lot more convenient to use is going to press this button at the top right corner. That'll get rid of your information bar and show you more of the navigation display. To start, you can go ahead and search something in the search bar. You have the option of either typing it in on the keyboard, or you can press the voice recognition button located on the left hand side of your steering wheel. Now you can go ahead and type something in. You can also add a home or favorite location. So if I wanted to add a home or my place of work, I can press either of these buttons. And if I wanted to add a favorite, I can go ahead and add favorites, and then it'll actually use recent destinations that I've had to add them to my favorites menu. So all you have to do is head to a place or put a place's address in, press the star, and it'll be added to your favorites. Next, you have your compass. You have the option of having it face only north, having it be 3D and follow you, or having it follow you and not be 3D. Following you and not 3D is most likely the quickest way to render it, and 3D will give you the most detail. You can go ahead and press recenter if you off center your display, and then the speaker underneath will be your navigation settings. So if you're one of those people who only wants to hear when there's a traffic jam or a police officer up ahead, you can do what I just did and put it on alerts only. If you don't like any audio, you can go ahead and mute it. And if you want to hear everything, turning directions, wind switch lanes, stuff like that, you can put it on unmuted and it'll tell you everything you need to know. Next, we have our menu. In our menu, it's going to be pretty similar to what we just looked at before. We have some of the same options, including search, adding your home, or adding work. Recent destinations will just show you your history. Favorites will show you every location that you've saved. My routes is a feature that you can use to set customized routes. For instance, if you have a route that you take to work that you know is a shortcut, but Waze or whatever navigation app you do use doesn't typically use that route, and here you can go ahead and add your own custom route. After that, we have your maps, and this is going to be how you can see what maps you have up to date and which ones need to be updated. I recommend having the automatic update on once you've gone home and connected the vehicle to your home's Wi-Fi, and it should automatically update itself every night if necessary. Now that we're all done with our navigation settings, let's go ahead and move to our radio settings. Now, if we were to click on radio, we get our FM station. Let me hurry up and turn this down real quick. And we see we have a couple of different options. It'll display the station's name up top, the song name, who is the song is by, and then the station's category. So in this case today, it's going to be top 40 or all the hits. On the top right corner, we see that we have our sound customization options. This is how you can adjust the bass and treble. And then we have our balance and fader. This is how you can adjust the positioning of the music. For instance, if I have children sleeping in the back seat, but I'm listening to a podcast, I can go ahead and move it up, forward, and now only my front speakers are going to be having audio come through them. Once we're done with that, we can see down here we have a couple more buttons. This 1 and 2 signifies which HD radio station you're listening to. A lot of radio stations these days have 2 different stations. So right now we're on B97, the first HD station, but if I go ahead and click it, we'll actually go to their second HD station, and it shows us a different channel and a different song. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to 1 and listen to the normal station. We also have our seek and skip functions located here. This correlates with your tune function as well. Your tune is going to be more precise. Seek and skip will skip between things, and it is the same buttons you have on the left hand side of your steering wheel. Scan is going to make it so that it just scans through the stations like normal. Any other radio does it. And then direct tune would be if you know the exact station you want to tune into. For this instance, I guess 101.9 would be a good example. I can go ahead and click that in, press tune, and it'll bring me straight to that station. I can turn the HD radio stations on or off. Replay in the center here is a great feature. Let's say you were listening to a news station, or your favorite song has just finished while you were listening to radio and you want to go ahead and replay it. You can click these buttons back here and they'll rewind it 5 seconds at a time. We can see I've rewinded it back 10 seconds. And if I turn replay off, it'll just bring me straight back to the live radio station. After replay, we have our station list. This is where we can see all these stations we've scanned, scroll through them, and pick a station we want. Or we can go ahead to genres and find something based off of the genre we're trying to listen to. Now, you see we have these 6 panels down here at the bottom. These are going to be your favorites, and you actually get a couple more to the right-hand side with a total of up to 18 different favorite stations. And the way to set a favorite is actually extremely easy. So for instance, if I wanted 101.9 to be my favorite on my first favorite selection, I would go ahead and just hold that first spot, and then it automatically pairs 101.9 to that favorite station. And this works for AM, FM, or Sirius XM. Your favorites will stay right here at all times. If I were to go to AM, we see that all of our settings are going to be exactly the same as our FM settings. And if I wanted to save this station to my favorites, I can go ahead and hold it on 2. And then we see we have that station saved in our favorites on 2. Now, the only one of our radio features that's going to be slightly different is going to be Sirius XM. Here you have the channels that you have to seek and skip through. Favoriting will be the same as always. Just go ahead and hold it there, and it's going to put it there for you. And then you have the option of adjusting your audio, adjusting your balance fader, just like with radio. But the thing that is going to be different is you have a For You page, which is going to be recommendations based off of your recently listened to Sirius XM stations. And then you also have your categories, which is the same thing as genres, except for it's a little more broken down because Sirius XM has quite a few more channels. And then last but not least, related will just show you stations related to the station you're currently listening to. And that's going to be it for your radio settings on the Subaru. Next up, we have media. If we go ahead and tap on media, we see here it's going to open us up to our Bluetooth menu. Any Bluetooth device you have connected will appear here. And if you have your music downloaded to that Bluetooth device, you can even browse through the files using the Subaru screen. Next up, we have USB. If we go ahead and open USB, this will be if you had any sort of flash drive or thumb drive plugged into the 2.4 amp USB port located underneath the screen. It'll pop up here. Any files would pop up here as well, and you can play your music like that. Or if you have any other device that plays music that has a USB connection. Last but not least, we have iPod or iPhone. This would be if you have an iPod device, if you're using the 3.5mm jack, or if you connected it via the USB Type-C or USB-A ports. It'll pop up here. You do want to make sure you're using a verified Apple cable when you're doing this, otherwise it doesn't ensure the sound quality when transferring. Next up, we're going to go over the phone button. I'm going to teach you how to pair a phone extremely quickly. We do have a video on our channel that shows you how to pair an Android and iPhone device and activate Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That's why I'm not going to go super in depth, but the quickest way is always going to be to tap your Manage Devices button, press Add, and then open the Bluetooth settings on your device and pair it. Once you have your phone connected, you can go ahead and head to the phone menu. We see here that it'll open up to our favorites. We don't have any favorites on this phone's contact list, so they're not going to pop up. One thing to note is if you do want to have access to the texting feature and calling feature, as well as voice recognition control on your phone to make calls and text, you do need to sync your contacts with your Subaru. So when that option pops up, make sure to allow it and you can go ahead and move forward. If we go to recents, it'll show any of our recent calls. And if we go to phone book, it'll show any of our contacts. Manage devices is if you want to switch between devices. It is also the same button that appears at the bottom right corner of your screen. It's simply, this is the shortcut, this is the main menu where you can find it, and then keypad is going to be if you wanted to dial a number in. You can also use the voice recognition and simply say the number out loud. In apps, we have quite a few different apps. The one we're going to be going over today is going to be our travel link. We have a video on our channel with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay being explained. I'll make sure to link that down below. And we can't do Subaru Starlink because we can't register a user to this vehicle because it hasn't been sold. Let's go ahead and open up Travel Link, and we see here we're going to get a bit of weather information. If we click the top left corner, we get our weather alerts. This is going to be for your current location. You can also make it to a location you're heading to, or just have favorite locations if you travel around a lot. At the bottom of the screen, you can change it to an hourly forecast and take a look at it, 5-day, or if you're traveling a very long distance, you can see the weather along your route. Weather alerts will show you any thunderstorm, tornado alerts that will be happening in your area. And once again, you can select the location that you'd like to see or look at any of your favorited locations. Parking will show you any parking nearby. In this city, there is actually only one parking garage, so it's not going to show me any of them. And then if we go ahead and move over, we can take a look at fuel prices at gas stations. A lot of this information will be updated a lot quicker once you've connected your vehicle to the Wi-Fi and updated the software. You can see there's the option for our current location, fuel type regular. If you're using premium, you can change it to premium, the country, US or Canada, and then we can refresh it as we drive along the route. Sports will show us any of these sports that are happening right now with our favorite teams. If we were to have a Pelicans game or Saints game and it was Sunday, it would give us updates, anything like that. Stocks is going to show us the stocks. We don't have it updated right now, I believe, but if we wanted to add stocks that we were keeping track of, we can go ahead and check them in our Subaru. Next up, we have your settings menu. If you ever have a problem with your vehicle or if you want to customize certain settings, this is where you go to do that. Now up here we see we have the general settings menu. This is going to be for anything from your clock all the way down to adding anniversaries if you would like to have your vehicle remind you about anniversaries and birthdays. I highly recommend going and poking around the settings menu yourself. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of it today. Next, we have sound. Sound is going to be where you can customize pretty much every audio noise that your vehicle makes, from the navigational beeps to the seat reminder beeps to anything like that. If you scroll down, it gives you more settings and you can go through it and see how you like things to sound. Navigation is going to be where we can find a lot of our map settings. Now, some of the most important ones we can find on here are going to be the option to update our map and make sure our map is up to date, as well as customizing our routes if you want to avoid tolls or any sort of things like that. The settings in the phone menu are going to be a lot of the settings that you can find in the actual phone application. However, one important one that I think a lot of people would like is that you can actually change the name of your Subaru and how it appears in the Bluetooth menu. Next up is going to be radio. Radio gives you pretty general settings for FM and AM. For the most part, anything that you want to customize in those features are going to be in the actual radio app. Sirius XM gives you some more background information, your listening history, listener settings, and if you don't want them to sell your information to any third parties. Car settings is going to be one of the most important settings in your vehicle. This is where you can customize things like your eyesight sensitivity, whether or not you have pre-collision braking on. Once again, I highly recommend coming into the car settings and taking a look around. You can customize your keyless entry system. You can customize a whole bunch of features that are extremely important. Now, the way I prefer to access the car settings is actually the button at the bottom left corner. This breaks it down into a more day-to-day sort of settings. It looks at things that you're most likely to use and organizes them for you. Auto vehicle hold is an amazing setting where if you press your foot all the way down on the brake, it actually holds the brake there for you. And X mode is a feature I do want to go over. With X mode, it is a feature that allows you to drive in either snow or dirt, or deep snow and mud. It allows you to do this up to 12 miles per hour and disengages itself at 25 miles per hour. It's great for gaining traction and just driving on those slippery and harder to drive on terrains. Driving assistance is going to be mainly eyesight focused. This is where you can turn on things like your rear vehicle detection or your driver monitoring system. For instance, if the vehicle keeps thinking that you're dozing off and giving you the alert, but you're not, you can come in here and turn the beepings off. And then more settings, it's just going to bring you to the warning volume, which is going to be for eyesight, and your units menu, which is going to be if you want it in miles or kilometers. On the bottom right, we have our car settings menu. This is where you can take a look at your differentials and suspensions while you're driving, as well as your driving angle. And if we go to maintenance, you can take a look at the current status of all your maintenance features. From your home screen, if you were to swipe left, you see that you access your shortcuts menu. In here, you can go ahead and press add shortcut and add any shortcut that you feel like you would like to have quicker and easier access to. This is completely customizable, and you can even just completely delete everything that's already there. Last thing we're going to take a look at is going to be our driver profiles. In here, you can add different drivers to your Subaru vehicle, and each of you can have your own customized settings, including your own customized home screen. Directly next to our ports underneath the screen is going to be our electronic parking brake. If you need to engage the electronic parking brake, just depress your foot all the way on the normal brake and then go ahead and pull the electronic parking brake up. That'll engage your parking brake, and if you want to disengage it, go ahead and push your foot back down on the normal brake, push your parking brake switch down, and that'll disengage your parking brake. You'll notice that next to your gear shift, you actually have a camera view button. This is if for any situation you would like to look at the front of your vehicle, even while driving actually, you can go ahead and toggle this button and take a look and see what's directly in front of you. One thing we can touch up on our gear shift is going to be the manual driving mode. So if I were to take our gear shift, put it in drive, and then shift it to the left, our vehicle is now in a manual driving mode. This enables me to use the paddle shifters located behind the steering wheel to either drop down and lower a gear or shift up and raise a gear. Taking a look at our center console, you'll notice you have two different options to open up. There's one option with a textured pattern on it. If we open that one up, that'll open us up to our main glove box department where we can access our jack as well as our CD player, and we see everything that we need to see in here. Now, if we were to not press the one with the texture, but instead press the smoother one closer to the driver's side, it will actually open up our smaller compartment where we can keep business cards, change, and small bills. If you take a look at your glove box, you'll notice that you have the option to lock or unlock it, but you'll also remember that the Subaru has a key fob, and I'm going to show you super quickly how to access that key fob. Now, to access your key fob, all you have to do is find the silver button located on the back of your key fob, press that guy down and pull up, and your Keyblade will pop right out. Now, taking a look at the back seat of our Outback, there aren't many settings that we have to go over. Of course, we have our climate settings located in the middle with our USB Type-C and 2.0 jack. If we wanted to access our armrests and cup holders, we can just go ahead and fold down the middle seat. However, there are a couple things I want to make sure that you understand where they're located. Now, in here, we see that we have the symbol for our child seat anchors. If you want to access them, you can just go ahead and pull this leather flap forward, and it'll unvelcro and reveal the two anchors for you. You have a total of 5 anchors in the back seat, 2 here, 1 in the center, and then 2 more on the other side. And if you were to look at the back of each seat, you'll realize you have the over-the-hook anchors, 1 on each one of the seats, so 3 of the over-the-hook anchors total. If you wanted to recline, or in this case, push your seat forward because it's already reclined, you have the option to right here next to the door. If I pull that forward, our seat comes forward. Or if I wanted to, I can go ahead and push our seat further back. If I wanted to fold our seat all the way down, there is a button located on the shoulder that I can just push down, fold forward, and then we can see that we have our anchors in the back as well. Now, coming to the back of the Outback, it doesn't look like much, but we actually do have a couple of settings in the back here. For instance, I've already folded one of these seats in the 60-40 split. Let's say I want to get rid of that last 40%. I'll just go ahead and pull this lever right here, and that'll knock that seat forward for me. I also have a couple of tether anchors located on either side if I ever need to use them. And on our right hand side, I also have the exact same setup. We'll notice here that just below there we have a 12-volt port located, as well as a storage place, and then we have tethers located in the front corner of the compartment as well.
Now below this cover, we actually have a handle. If we pull up this handle, this is where we can access our jack, and then just beneath that jack, if I can do it with one hand, we have our spare tire as well. Now last thing I'm going to show you is going to be how to remove your cover if you want your cover out of there. Now to remove this cover is actually extremely easy. If we go ahead and look at the passenger side of our vehicle, on that side of the cover there's going to be this large button right here. I'm going to move the camera back, and all I have to do is simply press down on that button and I can raise the cover out of its area and move it out of the way. I can push it back in, hear it click in place, and we're ready to go again. Last but not least, if we look up, we see that we have two buttons. The button on the left is going to be if you want to lock your vehicle's doors as well as close the trunk, and then the one on the right is going to be to just open and close the trunk, but it also allows you to adjust the height of the trunk. So for instance, if I only wanted my trunk to open about right here, what I would do is I would pull it down till it's about right there, hold this button, wait for the car to beep at me and flash the blinkers at me, and then now I can go ahead and close it. And then the next time I open the trunk, it's only going to open up to that height. And then it stops right there.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. And if you want more information about the vehicle you just seen, feel free to call the number in the description or click on the link to schedule an appointment.